Howdy folks, the Comics Kid 2099 here to talk about an episode of a superhero animated series. Today, I will be talking about the first episode of the new Batman Adventures, Holiday Nights. So if you haven't seen the episode, strap yourself in, because I will be spoiling it. So go watch it, or sit here and listen to spoilers. And before I get into the review itself, a quick summary of the plot with the aforementioned spoilers. You have been warned. This episode is 3 short stories, each centered around the holidays at the end of the year. The first is Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy kidnapping Bruce Wayne to use his money to go on a shopping splurge, only to be foiled by Batman. The next is a story where Clayface has been robbing a shopping mall disguised as several small children, and he is stopped by Batgirl, Renee Montoya, and Harvey Bullock. The final story has Batman and the new Robin stopping Joker from killing a crowd full of people on New Year's Eve. We close out the episode with Jim Gordon and Batman sharing a quick coffee to celebrate another year of doing their thing. So I've talked before about how continuity was played pretty fast and loose in Batman the Animated Series, and how I have always viewed this series as just an extension of Batman the Animated Series. Well, nothing proves both of those things more than this episode, which uses the same opening as Batman the Animated Series, and also just assumes that the audience knows what's going on, even though this series/season is set sometime after Batman the Animated Series. We've even got a new Robin, but he isn't introduced to us in any meaningful way. He's just here, and we have to figure out who he is on our own. Of course, I know who he is because I read comics, but everyone watching the show, now or then, doesn't necessarily read comics. I know these two shows weren't especially interested in being very serialized like later superhero shows, like The Batman or Beware the Batman, but we should have at least had Tim Drake's official debut and origin episode before this episode. But oh well, this is still a pretty fun episode. Maybe it would have worked better after we had several episodes in the new style and with the new status quo of this being more of a Batman family show, as this episode does feel more, air quotes, offbeat as an episode. Again, it acts like you've already been in this world for a while, and for all intents and purposes, we really have not. Even jumping from an episode of Batman the Animated Series a week ago into this episode, it still feels pretty jarring. And I am once again thinking this episode could have benefited more from being placed later in the series. Beyond that, I don't have a whole heck of a lot more to talk about with this episode. I might be in the minority, as I've heard many people complain about the new character designs for this series, but for this episode, I really like the redesigns. Bruce Wayne looks more suave than ever. Harley and Ivy still have that Dan DeCarlo good girl vibe going on, which is very effective since they are arguably the least threatening villains in this episode, even with their talk of planning to murder Bruce Wayne, which is a little out of character for Harley, I'll grant you, since she's always been portrayed up until now as just somebody who is along for the ride, but not necessarily wanting to actually do nasty things like commit murder. Remember the Harley who was released from Arkham and was just trying to play by the rules? That doesn't seem like a very consistent character with this Harley, who doesn't care at all that Bruce Wayne seemingly fell to his death. Speaking of slightly out of character moments, it's a little weird seeing Clayface resort to petty theft. The last time we saw him, he was just trying to restore himself to his human form, and the time before that, he was just trying to expose Roland Daggett as a corrupt scumbag. I get that the gag of these kids all being part of Clayface couldn't really be done with any other villain, but just robbing a shopping mall seems like it could have been any number of villains except for Clayface. But since this is just a small part of 1/3 of the episode, I guess I'm willing to let it slide. Not only do I like the designs more than the previous designs, but I also think the animation style is just a little bit cleaner here. The Batman the Animated Series episodes all had a sort of grainy quality, which isn't inherently a bad thing. It evokes that 1970s grindhouse style, which is pretty cool, but having a cleaner, less grainy film quality can also be pretty cool, at least in my humble. And it's great to see Harvey Bullock get a human moment when he feels bad for the little girl whose dad he put in jail, and he gives her some money to buy herself something. Honestly, this review consists of nothing more than little tiny I likes and I don't likes when you get past the reaction to the new designs and the odd placement of this episode in the chronology of the rest of the series. It's not a bad episode, but it's one that is hard to talk about because it's 3 micro episodes instead of one 22-minute episode. Sometimes it's hard to talk about a 22-minute story, so it's triply hard to talk about 3 less than 8-minute episodes. In any case, those are my thoughts on this episode. What did you guys think of the episode and of my video? If you liked it, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you did like this review, you're in luck because I'll be tackling the rest of this series over the next several weekends. And I also do other videos throughout the week, so be sure to check those out too if you want to. In the meantime, I'll see you guys in the future. Have a great day.